commission meeting. And so I will call us to order. And Trina, I'll have you do a roll call.
Mayor Hill,
Here?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Here.
Commissioner Gormley,
Here.
Commissioner Fuchs is absent, and I think, pause on that for 1 second. He's joining.
Well, we know it wasn't, he couldn't figure out the internet.
Hello, Patrick.
Welcome.
Commissioner Fuchs, we are doing roll call. Are you here?
You're muted, Pat.
Yeah, here,
Okay.
here.
Good.
Okay, and Commissioner Christensen will be joining us in about 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you for the roll call. Our first item on the agenda this evening is our consent agenda. We have 2 items. Is there any commissioner that would want to take an item off of our consent agenda this evening?
No.
Hearing none, then I will ask for a motion
I would so move to adopt the consent agenda.
and a
Second.
second. Was that
Yeah,
Patrick?
second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Ed and seconded by Patrick. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And so the consent agenda passes unanimously. 1, 2, 3, 4 to 0 at this point. Okay, we have the accounts payable and purchasing reports, a part of your packet this evening. Any questions about those reports?
No questions.
No.
So we'll move on. Let's move down to our consultant report. And we have Brent. Brent, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, 2019 stumpage sale, the 720, 721 road sale is of course complete, entirely buttoned up, including the project work. And so I just look forward to planting that in January. The 2020 sales, the 107 road is complete. Official numbers are in on that sale. 268 loads were shipped, mostly to Frank Lumber. The final volume and value cut out about close to 20% above my original estimates on that one. So that came out real good. Some of that is due to more salvage than we anticipated. We were able to get when that job finished up. I anticipated a few loads and we ended up with like 10 loads. So that's some of the overrun accounted for. Project work's ongoing on this sale and the other 2020 sale. We're moving in a grader this week and doing some culvert work and shaping up some roads and buttoning things up for the season. The Boundary 300 Bald Mountain Road sale was 3 units. 2 of those units are complete and they're working on the 3rd unit. There was a little bit of a delay. Getting started on that, they weren't sure they were going to do it. Then they decided to do it. Then we had the catastrophic fire situation, which affected Lule Timber quite a bit. So they were a little delayed getting back to work on it, but they're going on it now and should be done in the next month or so with the Boundary Road unit. You can see the numbers there. So I anticipate we will overrun on that one as well. And fire season was officially ended on October 12th by ODF. And we had that one extraordinary incident around the 1st of September, but otherwise it was pretty average fire season year in the watershed, and we didn't have any issues. So that was good. We're out of the woods for this season.
And
Brent,
Brent,
on
go ahead.
the Boundary Bald Mountain Road sale, is that a rock road sale that's left, or do we want them to stop hauling when it gets rainy?
Well, if it gets extremely wet, they'll stop anyway, but it is right on the rock. It's right on the Boundary Road at around the 3 miles. So it's and all the units for that sale. And I try to do that on these 2-year sales, have them be a little more flexible.
Good.
But just the same, all they really buy with 2 years is 2 operating seasons. You know, they don't get 2 full
Right.
calendar year round windows. So
And Brent, I've heard that timber prices just gone through the roof recently. Do we want to have an earlier sale this year, or is our timber something that isn't going to be as fluctuating as some of the other stuff I hear about?
well, one of the sales might be, I think we're going to do one large wood sale next year that Herbert's had their eye on for the last year or so, and they're not as affected by the general market. But I think we put them out in January, first part of January, so that'd be I think that's a pretty good timing for the next sale. We could do it earlier, but I think that'll work real good. The prices have come up a lot. Now the big fear is with all this burn wood coming in, some people fear there's going to be this surge of volume that could depress prices somewhat, but that remains to be seen. I don't know.
Is the Forest Service going to sell burned wood, or just these private landowners?
I think it's mainly folks like Weyerhaeuser that are putting all their efforts into the salvage operations, and Port Blakely and folks that lost thousands of acres.
Mm-hmm.
The Forest Service, I think they'll do what you'd expect. It'll take a while, and they'll lay things out, and they'll be litigated, and probably won't get to it for a few years, or so I don't think they're going to be quite as quick to capture that value. You have a little bit of time, but only a few years before it really deteriorates. So
great, thanks. Sorry.
Let the record show that Jody Christensen has joined us now. Welcome, Jody and Ed.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm only able to stay till 6 o'clock, so thank you.
Hi, Jody. Brett, is there any lessons learned with the fires and that are going to have an impact on us, practices or anything, or is it too early to even talk about stuff like that?
Well, I don't know. It was such an extraordinary event when you get 50-mile-an-hour winds and 10% humidity. And I think what was smart, a lot of folks, even when they didn't have to shut down their operations just voluntarily. So that's the kind of thing we would have done. But I think one encouraging thing is all around the watershed now, as we know from working with BLM, they're doing a lot of management, clear cutting, and a lot of commercial thinning. And so that's really good news that around the perimeter of the watershed, not to mention Weyerhaeuser and folks like that, that certainly mitigates the explosive fire conditions, that you had up the canyon towards Detroit. They've been talking for years about that's just a matter of time. They just haven't been managing it. It's loaded with fuel. And so the fact that we manage our timber and there's management going on around the watershed is certainly eliminates a lot of the risk. So.
Okay, good. Well, thank you.
And I think the bigger issue we're going to face is on the electric side with the wildfire mitigation plans.
I would suspect that, yes.
Yeah.
We could see our insurance rates possibly change too.
Correct.
Just because of the business we're in. So risk issues. So, okay. Brent, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Brent from the commission?
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks a lot.
The next item would be appearance request, and this evening we have Scott Cooper from McMinnville Economic Development Partnership, MEDP, and he's here to give his annual report. And so at that point, John, you want to introduce Scott?
Sure. So I'm going to introduce Scott Cooper, our Executive Director with McMinnville Economic Development Partnership. And did you want to share your presentation, Scott?
Yes, I think Trina's got me set up for that.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, John and Mayor Hill and commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity. It's always good to share what's happening in the economic development world. Trina said I only had an hour for the presentation, so I had to trim it back a lot. So I'll do my best here. It's about 10, 12 minutes. I'll do my best.
Mr. Mayor, could we vote to adjourn the meeting now?
Well, I've already been through the presentation and I know better that it's not an hour, so.
Please don't snore on us, okay? Uh-oh,
Can you see
here
it?
it goes. Scott's taking over.
All right. Can everybody hear me all right? My connection's good? Perfect. All right. Well, it's our fiscal year ended at the end of September of 2020. So we're off on our new year already, but I'll talk a little bit about this past year and at the end kind of looking forward as well. Our mission remains the same. It's as you can see it on there. I won't read it to you, but also remaining the same will be our 4 strategic goals: business retention, expansion, workforce development, business attraction, and innovation development. And for our business retention and expansion, it really drives our entire program and therefore it drives all of our other strategic goals. And our BR&E efforts over the last year led to about just over 100 connections with our manufacturers and traded sector companies, and nearly 300 meetings with our resource partners in McMinnville, Yamhill County, the region, and the state. We worked with local manufacturers who pivoted to produce PPE to make sure they were included with statewide efforts, and worked with a regional partner to build a PPE database of what was available in the region and how people could get to it. We worked with our partners at the Stable Table. That's McMinnville Downtown Association, the Chamber of Commerce, Visit McMinnville, and the city to access a grant program through the state for McMinnville businesses. And we worked with our regional partners to bring additional emergency grant funding opportunities to McMinnville. Our Works internship program, we ended up with 9 host companies, and I'll talk a little more about this later, but 14 interns in those positions are within those businesses, and provided about 8 professional development workshops for those interns and students. Our business attraction efforts, we were fortunate that they continued throughout the year. Certainly in the spring of this year, we weren't sure what was going to happen or how things were going to go, but we did generate about 26 leads or interested parties in locating their business to McMinnville. Most of those remain active or at various stages moving through the pipeline. We successfully sought approval for the expansion of the urban renewal area to cover additional commercial and industrial property. And we produced new available industrial sites videos that we will use on our website and for what will be virtual site tours. What we see is the kind of the norm moving forward certainly for the next year anyway. Our innovation development strategy, we dealt with entrepreneurship and business startups. We held multiple programs, including our inaugural 3-day startup bootcamp, which awarded 3 startup companies a series of services that assisted them with their business ideas and really turning them into reality. Hello Care was one. It's a customizable in-home care. Sustainable Rituals, a bulk refill shop for household essentials and personal care products. And Jamii Coffee. It's a coffee company that's empowering and working with Kenyan coffee farmers to sell locally. Some business highlights. And these are just kind of around town, but despite the adversity this year, we still saw activity in the business community, and that was certainly encouraging. It speaks to the diversity of our economy and to the planning and concentrated efforts over the last 50 plus years that McMinnville has done. A small sampling of projects, the commercial projects like First Federal's brand new 32,000 square foot headquarters, Falcon Suites new office complex on Baker and Adams in between there. Redevelopment of commercial buildings throughout downtown. One of our local traded sector companies, Organic Valley, they had a business, Oregon loan program that they had received a couple years ago. And part of that was if they exceeded employment growth projections, that portions of that amount would be forgiven. And that was a sizable amount that was forgiven. And so they far exceeded their growth expectations. Northwest UAV partnered with Hearth Engines to further solidify this region as a major player in the UAV industry. And certainly the purchase of the Evergreen Museum properties. Around the industrial district, there's been activity out there as well. We had the construction of about 18,000 square feet of industrial condos on Colvin Court. Red Hills Distribution added 25,000 square foot. It's not finished yet, but getting close, for wine storage and a labeling operation. S&S Electrical purchased the former MB Advancements building out there on Alpha. Cardaway Concrete purchased a powder coating company and relocated it to the facility for their trailers and mixers. And Betty Lou's will have a larger role out in the industrial district as they focus on their name brand products. Certainly the word for this year and the second half of this year was pivot, a pretty popular one. But in March and April, we saw our manufacturing community pivot to provide much needed PPE to area businesses, hospitals, schools. They produced tubing for ventilators, masks, face shields, and even UVC technology. And what this pivot really did is it provided needed equipment for the public, and it also kept those people employed and those businesses, some of those businesses alive. Highlights for MEDP. Our Works and Career Bound programs, they continued, although certainly in April, in March and April and May, we were not sure that was going to be the case. So we worked with partner programs throughout the state to kind of find out best practices and how they were moving forward and whether or not we should move forward. And what started out in January, February looked to be one of our largest years ever with host sites, available positions, and applicants. Turned into what we ended up with, which is a smaller program, but ultimately very proud of this cohort and our staff as well to move forward through a tough summer and what turned out to be a successful program. 2 years ago, somebody on your commission received a grant for MEDP and through the Oregon Community Foundation and the Ford Family Foundation to expand the internship program like our Works program and take it to the rural communities for the state of Oregon. The success of this program had sparked 14 other similar programs throughout the state. And in August of this year, we submitted our final report to the foundations to close out the grant. We met and exceeded all goals, and we were encouraged by the foundations to keep them in mind for future efforts to grow and expand our current program. Launchman Valley, it's a collaborative effort that MEDP has invested in to assist entrepreneurial programming. We work together to bring experts and entrepreneurs together to grow a new small business, nurture ideas to bring them into reality. Together we held pub talks, we started a coffee club for startups, and held the 3-day startup boot camp, which I mentioned earlier. And the neat thing about the boot camp, we had the top 3 businesses that came out of that program. They've all started or expanded their businesses. I mentioned Hello Care. Sustainable Rituals is located inside Mac Market, and Jim E. Coffee. So it's good to see the programming that we were putting in place actually working for the companies involved. Maybe our favorite thing to do is to tell the story of McMinnville and McMinnville's businesses and industries. We do this at every opportunity through our traditional media, social media outlets, Spark, which is our monthly newsletter, and certainly regular blog postings. Our social media presence continues to grow, and we had double-digit percentage growth over last year. MEDP has been recognizing McMinnville and individuals and businesses that showcase best practices in business since 2007. The best news is that we never seem to run out of businesses that showcase well, and we never run out of awards. This year's awards went to RP Advanced Mobile Systems for the McMinnville Maker Award. They are a tactical ATV UTV builder. They did expand and pivoted into manufacturing PPE equipment, and it's turning into a pretty solid business for them. And they're the ones that are doing the UVC technology. Our workforce partner of the year was the Swede Mom organization. They are a nonprofit aiding other nonprofits by leveraging e-commerce. Cami Nyquist and her team, they had a need for 6 interns this summer, and they kept them busy all summer. Our startup of the year, Sustainable Rituals, as I mentioned, our Tech Terroir Award was Buildable. They are a custom software company that redeveloped a downtown building, grew their staff, and added additional business offerings. The board partner of the year went to McMinnville Downtown Association and the City of McMinnville for their joint efforts to create and streamline the Down Outside on Third program, which turned out to be a terrific program and a lifeline for some. Looking ahead, well, we're excited about the new fiscal year. We're excited to move forward, especially. But October's already been a busy month. We will certainly work to continue to grow that momentum. We've got several projects going on this month. Erin Hansen Gallery, she is a world-renowned impressionist who is moving her headquarters to McMinnville and taking up about 20,000 square feet in the industrial park. It'll be a mix of everything in there for her: gallery space, studio space, manufacturing space, printing space, kind of everything in one area for her. Unique Wire, a digital forensics firm. They'll be occupying about 10,000 square feet down in downtown McMinnville. 10 jobs or so to start, very good paying jobs. Potential growth there is really good as well. Colvin Court extension in the industrial park of about 440 feet that will open additional access to industrial park properties, and including being a catalyst for Castile Bottling's new 20,000 square foot facility. We've got some more things in the works and more announcements we hope to come very soon, but it looks to be a busy start to the new year, and we certainly hope to carry that forward. We've got a lot of work to do in programming and really reaching out and continuing to grow our business retention and expansion program, learning from our existing businesses and how we can develop more things to help them. Our business attractions got more efforts to do. We're still working to work in my network that I have had over the last 25 years with site selectors and C-level execs, and introducing them, not to me anymore, but introducing them to McMinnville. And any opportunity that we have, we're trying to do that. So that will continue to build as well. So we've got a lot to do, but we're looking forward to it. I really appreciate your time, and certainly appreciate your continued support, because without it, we would not be able to do the things that we do, and we would not be able to plan for the things that we're planning. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott, for the presentation this evening and the good work that MEDP is providing. And we surely are excited about the partnership and being able to partner with you. John serves as your chair of the board, and we have a former director of MEDP on our board. So you know that we have a great appreciation for what you do, and then representing the city, we feel the same way. So any questions of Scott from members of the commission?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Nice presentation, Scott. Thank you.
Very good presentation.
Yes.
Yes, it was great to hear the good news. Thank you.
Again, as I have an opportunity and John have an opportunity to meet on a monthly basis, I'm just very appreciative that even during trying times of COVID and fires, that we continue to be a place that people are interested in coming and doing business. We've got so many of the foundational pieces that bring individuals and companies to our community. So again, Scott, thank you for the presentation this evening.
Again, thanks for your support. We really appreciate it. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Scott.
Well, that takes us to our next area of staff reports. And so, Jamie, if you would present to us the Power Resource Manage report for us.
I will, thank you. Good evening. I just have a few updates regarding power resources and conservation to share with the commission. I will start with conservation as we wrap up the first year of our 2-year rate period. Just want to share some of our milestones, what we've achieved in the program thus far this rate period, and what we plan for the coming year. You've got in your packet kind of a breakdown of our budget and how we've allocated dollars and how those dollars have been spent so far. We've currently expended or committed to about 51% of our budget through energy efficiency incentives, and really have seen pretty steady and consistent interest from our customers for conservation measures throughout the pandemic and everything going on. So I think that was a little bit unexpected, but we continue to promote the program, particularly our low-income weatherization measures. As of October 1st, BPA implemented some additional measures that we'll be putting out there to our customers for all our avenues of reaching them, advertising on our website, and working with YCAP and Housing Authority to try to promote the program and communicate with our customer base the incentives available to them. So it's kind of the plan for the coming year, and we are on track to use that BPA allocation of energy efficiency dollars. I'll pause there if anyone has any questions regarding the conservation program.
Jamie, can you update us a little bit on our relationship with YCAP as it relates to them being a partner in helping us move some of these programs forward?
Sure. We continue to partner with YCAP as we have in the past. We have discussed with them opportunities to grow the program or to offer additional incentives, and for a variety of reasons, they're limited staffing, I suppose, that kind of restricts what they can do, and so we have maximized our we've kind of hit the maximum with YCAP as far as collaborating with them. There are some additional BPA incentives for manufactured home replacement that will work with YCAP to reach, customers that way. So, we continue to work with YCAP, and I think we've reached a point of, what their available resources allow as far as what they can do in collaboration with McMinnville.
I think the one area, probably, Scott, that we have increased is the Housing Authority. That's a resource we hadn't really, or an organization we really hadn't been involved with before on conservation that we're working with now.
And they're becoming a much greater player in the market of affordable housing, but also in this area too, I would guess. Correct, John?
Yes.
Okay. Tom?
So Jamie, a couple questions. First of all, how does the mobile home, the $2,500 retire the old mobile home thing? Do they have to junk it basically? Is that what happens or?
Well, I don't have the particulars, but yes, I believe it needs to be a pre-1976 manufactured home that, I guess that's the cutoff for traditional financing. Most banks won't finance a home of that age. So that is why the incentive is for those older models. And yeah, I believe I'll have to get the particulars. I don't,
I was just
full
curious.
replacement of the home. So
And then the second question is, I understand Whitecap's operations have been impacted by COVID, but before, are they referring people to us now that they can't help?
I hope, yes, I think so. I don't know if, I know they have a long list, waiting list of citizens who need assistance and have requested assistance. And we've certainly offered over multiple meetings and communications with YCAP to assist those customers and ask that they refer them. So
Before COVID hit, we'd had a meeting and there was perhaps an idea of YCAP identifying people who would never get high enough on the list to receive their services. And their services are more robust than ours in the sense that they have counseling and all sorts of other things that we don't have. But I think there was kind of a shared understanding that there was a level of people on the list who were never going to get YCAP services unless there was a huge change that they didn't anticipate. And we were starting to talk about maybe some kind of information they could hand out to those people, saying, giving the people the choice of, keeping their fingers crossed and waiting for YCAP services or trying water and lights things.
right.
Do you think it'd be appropriate for us to try to resume those discussions?
Yes, of course. I think it's always appropriate. I think we need to continue to try to reach as many customers as we can. And so we'll renew those discussions and try to communicate to customers that, some incentive is better than nothing at all. And if we can help some customers in any way.
Right. And I'm happy to be involved again. And one of the things I think we were going to try to work on was and try to work on some information that we would give to people that there may be a more robust YCAP program and they would give. And so everybody would get the same information. And then YCAP wouldn't feel like people were being kind of led astray by not getting their full benefits. I think we had talked about let's just focus on people who aren't going to get helped by YCAP. And but that, I thought COVID sort of had stopped their program, but if it hasn't, or even if it has, perhaps we could try to reinstitute that. If you would check with YCAP, please, and let me know. I'd like to be involved again.
I will.
Thanks, Jamie. Lacey, no, sorry about the dog.
Okay, well, moving on. The next item, I wanted to share some information with the commission regarding Northwest Requirements Utilities, and some of the commission may be familiar with the organization or recall that McMinnville was previously a member. NRU is a nonprofit trade association that represents BPA load following customers in the region and really advocates on behalf of those customers for power and transmission service with BPA. So over the past 10 months, we've renewed some communications with NRU and their CEO, John Francisco, looking ahead to kind of post 2028 contract negotiations with BPA and, the provider of choice for the region, and considering McMinnville's options regarding power supply. NRU can be a valuable resource and certainly support utility McMinnville Water and Light, as well as I think they have 54 member utilities throughout the Northwest, 13 of those being municipalities like McMinnville. So we've been discussing kind of our potential membership again in NRU and what that could offer McMinnville, and have been included in NRU's efforts over the past 10 months and in their meetings and communications, and have budgeted membership dues in our current fiscal year budget. The membership is on a calendar year basis for NRU. And so we have those funds budgeted and have received an estimated dues amount of $40,500 from NRU. So the plan is to proceed with a renewed membership. John, do you have anything to add for that? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Ed.
I guess the staff looking for us to authorize the expenditure, Jamie?
No, you've already authorized it.
Okay,
We're just giving you a heads up that we were going to go ahead and move forward.
okay.
We included it in the budget last spring, still kind of tentatively, but throughout the summer and the fall, we've solidified our desire to renew that membership. So I just want to share that with the commission that we'll proceed with
Very
that.
good. Okay.
Okay.
And finally, I wanted to just have a conversation regarding RECs. The commission may recall, Commissioner Christensen, this might be new to you, but last year we had a pretty lengthy series of conversations regarding renewable energy certificates. And these are certificates that we accrue. They basically represent the renewable attributes of energy from renewable sources. And so we accrue these RECs for our Riverbend purchase, the landfill gas purchase. We also are given an allocation of RECs from BPA for their tier 1 power, hydropower. So those are the current 2 ways that we accrue RECs. We've been accruing these for about 12 years and have a substantial balance in our account. So much so that the commission declared a certain amount as surplus last year so that we could pursue the option of selling some RECs. And we did that via formal solicitation for offers last summer. Turned out that the offers we received were either non-responsive or didn't provide what we needed. So all offers were rejected, and we agreed that we would just revisit the topic in the future. And so I wanted to do that tonight. We've received some interest lately from REC brokers asking if we have RECs for sale. Nothing has changed as far as how we need to solicit offers. So we'd still have to go through the formal solicitation process and purchasing rules, which proved to be a hindrance last year. It was a cumbersome process and didn't really mesh well with REC trading. So one option would be, if we pursue a sale, would be to consider employing the services of a broker to represent McMinnville and act on McMinnville's behalf for REC transactions. That's certainly an option. However, I don't know that McMinnville Water and Light is going to be offering the volumes of recs necessary to justify that type of relationship. So the rec market's still alive, and in fact, it's probably more robust than last year. Prices were pretty weak last year. Have improved some from what indications I've received, but just wanted to share that with the commission and offer some updated information and see if there's any questions or discussion on the matter.
And go ahead, Tom.
So Jamie, and this is a Sam question too, probably, is there a way we could market in compliance with the rules that would be a more effective way to market the recs, not be so cumbersome and difficult?
Well, Tom, is Sam. It's kind of an unknown. I think in talking with Jamie and sort of dealing with this through this last year, we always felt like we were kind of operating blind with regards to pricing and to what the brokers were doing. And what we ended up happening is we ended up getting a couple offers from brokers. And when we attempted to accept the offers, the brokers just sort of, they started trying to change the deal. And so it was they see it as a day-to-day operation where the market's always changing, it's always fluid. And it was just sort of, you don't get this. We need an offer we can accept and sell to you under a contract. And that seemed to be sort of a foreign concept. So I think what Jamie's describing and what I've sort of seen and looking at this is that there are large utilities that employ, either in-house or probably contract out professional staff to market kind of a daily basis recs as they're generated through. Another complication we have, I guess, is that we get recs from the landfill under a contract. So we're not actually the producer of the rec itself. We're selling recs that we're getting from somebody else. So they're already sort of a transferred entity when they come to us, which is a little bit of another kind of a twist that may make it a little more difficult to sell the recs. That relates to our ability to sort of certify the recs as green, and that's a whole nother level of complication and requirement that the brokers seem to want. And I just don't know that we're prepared to do that. It would be another level of effort to try to do that. And frankly, with our contractual relationship with the landfill, I'm not sure we could. So it's a little bit of a puzzlement. Not to say that we wouldn't ever be able to sell recs, but it's certainly, I think for Jamie, it's been a frustration trying to sort of going in and out of this relationship with brokers and not, sort of been sort of swinging at shadows.
So thank you, Jamie, for calling me out. I don't know this as well as the other commissioners. Who buys the recs? Who do the brokers represent?
They represent either other utilities or large companies who have committed to, 100% renewables, or they have some renewable standard to uphold, an obligation to meet. And McMinnville will have such an obligation in 2025 under the Oregon Renewable Portfolio Standard. We're required to provide 10% of our power from renewable sources. And so these recs could serve us in that capacity in the future. And so they do have use to McMinnville Water and Light. We have an abundance of recs, probably more than we will need, but not all of them are marketable. Like Sam was saying, these brokers are looking for a product that is Green E certified, which makes it transferable in different regions. And they're likely representing large, either investor-owned utilities or larger utilities that have a much higher compliance obligation for renewables. I don't get specific names of who
Mhm.
they're representing, but these brokerage firms are global firms.
Okay.
So
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Go ahead, Ed.
So Jamie, appreciate the update. But I think we should continue to park them. You've given us a date, 2025, that we'll need some at that point, and maybe revisit this at that point, unless John has got some other idea on that. But they've been on our books, and I guess it's safest to let them continue on our books and not get involved with any brokers in that could come back to bite us too. Would be my comments.
Yeah, I would prefer that we not just stop looking at it between now and 2025. I think you ought to keep an eye on it, but I think, it's not a pressing matter. I don't think it's a lot of money for us, and I know you have a lot of things to do, but if you just sort of keep an eye, and maybe there'll be some other utility in our position that will figure out a way to do that. I would be interested in hearing more about it if something like that comes up, or there's some guidance on how to do it. But I agree with Ed, you shouldn't keep beating your head against the wall on this thing either. So.
Yeah, theoretically, if we actually came across another utility that needed the RECs and we could do a sort of bilateral sale, that would, it's hard. The hard thing is the pricing. It's really hard to know what the market is for these things, because the market is kind of blind, because the brokers sort of tell you what they're willing to pay, and then but they want the competition aspect of it is very difficult.
But Sam, I meant if we find another utility who's in our position, having RECs wanting to sell them, figures out a way to sell them much.
I see. Yeah.
So either.
So Jamie, I think one of the positive things for you is that us rejoining the association puts you in contact with those kind of folks, and I think that'll be one of the first platforms you encounter. Right. Somebody will say something to you, and I think most of the utilities in Oregon are aware of what we have, because we've marketed it before and stuff.
Right.
Just it's widgets that we can't use right now.
Right.
So thank you. Appreciate the hard work.
Thank you.
I think last year when we looked at the cost of those, it was just so minimal that it wasn't worthwhile to do much, just to keep it on the books. So Thank you, Jamie.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and move over to a report from Scott on Associated Arborist chipper bill A, and we have material on that. So Scott.
Good evening. So yes, I got some information here, an update on billing error from Associated Arborists, where they were chipper. They did not bill us since the beginning of the contract, dated 2016. Over the 3 years of the contract, actually into the 4th year, but the previous 3 years. This came about as we started or added additional hours and had a second crew and concentrated on some trimming efforts on our transmission line. Got into some areas that weren't as accessible, and upon their invoicing and billing, they did not use the bucket trucks, and most of these were climbable areas, and so it was a chipper only item, and that's when they discovered that they hadn't been billing us for the chipper as a standalone item. This came about, it was a change from the previous contracts that we had with them, where the chipper and the bucket truck were a combined item. With the 2016 contract, they were split out. They never updated their invoicing process to reflect that, as well as we didn't catch it either. So, and with that, so they submitted invoices back in July after they became aware of it, which there were some discussions, and it was a line item in the contract. The staff felt that it was something that should have been paid. So we moved forward and reviewed the invoices to confirm the hours and usage of the chipper. We did call Sam and asked him about that. We didn't get into all the details, and I didn't look at the budget for the year. We were tracking crew hours and costs, but I didn't confirm that with the invoices. And so payment was made. However, after more internal discussions, realized that that didn't go through the proper process, requested the money back. Associated Arborist did refund the money. And so here we are. Also in the packet for the 3-year contract from 2016.
Unknown caller.
Okay. So it also in the packet here, the second page there shows the cost as we were tracking and what was invoiced and paid for 16 and 17, 17, 18, 18, 19 for those 3 years. Contract total for those 3 years in total was $1,271,032.11. We had paid $1,268,753.17. Overall, we were, so it was about $2,279 under the 3-year total contract. By adding those chipper charges, that put us well over the amount, extended amount of the contract. And so they had made a request for payment. And so bringing that to the commission. So also, since everything happened here, we have made some changes internally to prevent something like this from happening again. The accounting department has updated some spreadsheets to track all the individual line items, as well as Associated Arborist has updated their invoicing processes to correctly reflect the items in the contract. So, yes, Mr.
Well, Scott, I'm trying to think, is this a carryover item from last month?
Yeah.
Or was there, okay, was there another issue, or this is the issue that we've talked about previously?
This is the same issue.
Okay, so they are within $2,000 round numbers of the guaranteed maximum.
Yes.
So on one hand, that's probably all we should be liable for unless there were some issues that were outside of the contract.
Correct.
I mean, in a fairness issue, they gave us a maximum price and we got $2,000 left. I mean, that's really all we should have to pay, if we have to pay them anything, right?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
So, and I'm not, and Scott, you probably know this better, but I'm not quite sure about the numbers. It looks to me like for 2016, 17, you'd add those two numbers to, we were actually over anyway, right? We were over by $1,000. So they asked for 14,000 for that year, or almost $15,000. Is that what they asked for? We already overpaid them by 3,000 to start with.
So the additional chipper charges for 16, 17 was on the next page in the packet here.
Thank you.
In their letter, it was the dollar amounts for the invoices. So.
Okay. And so I'm going to go back now. Here's the way I think about it. I think that if we approved a not to exceed contract and they performed under that contract and didn't ask for a change order, that I don't think we as a commission can spend ratepayer money over that not to exceed contract. So But so like if you look at 18, 19, it looks to me like they make sure I understand this. They actually didn't bill the whole amount of the contract, right?
Correct.
But then they wanted another, let me look at the next page. They wanted another $8,000, right? Would take them over.
Correct.
So it seems to me for that year, and I think each year should stand alone. So for that year they would get 450760 for 18-19 because that was the total not to exceed for the contract, right?
Correct.
And for the previous year, 17-18, they'd get $1,075.20 because that's the room they had left on the not to exceed. But then so it looks like in 16-17, we overpaid them and didn't catch it by $3.
Correct. Yes.
So they certainly wouldn't get any more money for that year. And I don't know whether we offset that or not. That's the question, right?
I can tell you, Tom, I went back and looked at the original approval on the 3-year because it was originally a 3-year contract. It was actually
okay.
the not to exceed price was an aggregation of the 3 years.
Oh,
so and then there's two 1-year extensions.
Okay.
So the commission did authorize the 3-year not to exceed price, if that helps you at all.
Yeah, it does, I guess. So then you would so then you'd look at the total, the 3-year not to exceed price, and see what they didn't. They were. Was that the $2,200 you're talking about, Ed?
Yep.
Sam, that's all we can pay them, right? Without a change order, and after
to the 3-year, to the end of the 3-year price, right? So
that's
so we gave them, we did 2 1-year extensions, and I would think at that point the 1-year they should stand on their own merit each year.
Yeah, I would say that's correct.
And we're in that first year of the extension. This was caught early enough, made the adjustments. We're okay for this year of the extension.
Okay. So
well, I know Tom and I've talked about this before. We've really, I mean, this is a long-term situation we've had. Through due diligence, figured out it was cheaper to have these guys work for us than have our own folks do it. And think about if we had to do this ourselves, we're going to have what, another 6 guys and 1 or 2 trucks possibly, or maybe a 3-man crew. Anyway, this is a really inexpensive way for us. It's easy for staff to manage, and we've had, I think, good service with them in the past. So I think it's a good reckoning situation. We've caught it, and staff's going to be on top of it in the future, and the commission shouldn't have to be involved other than to approve future contracts.
So Ed, do I understand you to be saying that you think we ought to pay them the $2,200 that they have left on the contract and tell them, we're sorry, but we can't just give away ratepayer money?
I think they need to be honest enough to recognize there was a guaranteed maximum, or we had a limitation on that contract, and we're trying to be honorable enough by offering them the difference.
Yeah.
And we feel bad about their accounting problems, but we have a responsibility to our ratepayers, and the board has to answer to itself. So
I agree, and I just don't know how we could just, and we can tell them if something comes up to come back to us with we change the scope of the work or some horrible, natural disaster and we have to use them more, come back to us with a change order, which is the way it's supposed to work.
So if this was pipe, I could tell you all about it, but climbing poles, and you said that the work they're doing now, they're not using a bucket truck, therefore they're not paying it to us, but are they incurring more labor because they're not as efficient because they're not using a bucket truck? In my mind, that would open us up to maybe, in fairness, to if they're running over their budget, that they should tell us, and unless they knew about it in advance, they've just bid it wrong too.
Well, the climbable sections definitely where they're not as accessible, it is more labor and they're not as productive, but that's also part of trimming, so.
Okay. But they knew that when they were putting the price together, you think?
Yeah,
So shame on them if they didn't bid it right then.
I don't feel like shame on them. I think that's just, we have an obligation to our ratepayers, and I understand mistakes get made, but I don't think we can give them money.
No, we can't reimburse them is the point I'm trying to make is that, sorry, but you bid the job. We gave you all the information. You can't come back to us with a change order now because there's nothing unfounded.
Well,
Unless,
we've closed the books for that year too.
Anyway, I've said enough, so.
So it sounds like we have the direction we need to go.
But promises we'll stay on top of this and this entail a lot of staff time to deal with this. So.
So
I know it's going to be hard for the staff because you're dealing with these folks and they're doing a good job for you. Tell them it doesn't reflect, in my mind, it doesn't reflect on the kind of job they do. I really appreciate the job they do, but we have an obligation too. That's all.
yes, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
So Scott, you have everything you feel that you need to have to move forward with this?
Yes, I think so, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next area then is old business, which I see none. And that takes us to new business, COVID-19 update, extension of emergency declaration. And I'll turn that over to John.
Sure. So probably the biggest item I would add for this update is we did have two confirmed cases of COVID at the utility. Those cases were confined to one office. I believe our protocols worked properly, and we did basically testing of all the staff that came in contact with those individuals, and no other staff had any case of COVID. So I believe what we've been doing has worked. The other thing I would add is that we are asking for an extension of the emergency declaration to November 19th, I believe, 18th. So, sure, go ahead, Ed.
Can we extend it longer? I mean, in my mind, facts show us that we're going to be, into the first quarter at least with, just to make it easy on you guys, because this is what, the fourth time now you've come back for this? Sixth, okay.
Seventh.
If that's what you have to do, great. I'm just trying to think about saving.
That's entirely up to the commission. If you'd like to maybe extend it through the end of the year, that would be fine.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
That'd be fine, and unless we're out, and then we could do it for 6 months or whatever. So we
I just wanted to make sure the commission was comfortable because we are waiving a number of fees, and that total to date is just under $300,000. So.
Yeah.
If it's not too much trouble for staff, I think it's good to look at it every month.
Okay.
Not only for the fees we're waiving, but also we're telling our customers that, we're considering this carefully every month. And I think that's important to a chunk of our customers. So is it a big deal to staff to bring this to us every month?
No.
Okay, I'm fine. Just wanted to throw that out for discussion.
Okay, Sam, I think we have a resolution, don't we?
Right, and Trina, what is the number this month?
28 this month.
Okay, this is resolution number 2020-28, a resolution by the City of McMinnville Municipal Corporation of the State of Oregon, acting by and through its Water and Light Commission, declaring and extending a state of emergency with regard to operation of the water and light plants of the City of McMinnville.
And so do we have any further discussion?
I'd move for the adoption.
Second.
And it's been moved and seconded. Do we do a roll call on this, Trina? Yes, go ahead.
Mayor Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes.
Commissioner Gormley,
Yes.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen has left the meeting, so she's absent.
So this resolution 2020-26, did you say?
28.
28, passes unanimously 5-0. Thank you. Let's
I think it's
move.
right. It's 4-0. I think Commissioner Christensen was absent. But
Okay. That takes us to our next item of business, which is determining the process for performance review of the general manager. Sam, we'll turn that over to you.
hey, so we're back here in October. Mr. Dietz was hired beginning November 1, 2017. So his review year begins November 1. And so annually, the commission will appoint a couple of commissioners to kind of initiate that process with John. Typically, what I will do is distribute to the commission a copy of review forms, job description. Typically, John will produce a short review, a kind of year in review. We'll also have some salary rate information for you that we get from Milliman every year. But the one thing we need you to do tonight is just indicate which commissioners will begin that process with John.
Why don't we get over tonight? Hey, John, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. And full speed ahead.
I agree with Ed.
I can tell you last year it was Commissioners Gormley and Carlton, of course.
Thanks,
Commissioner
thanks, Sam. Nice job.
So do we have any recommendations?
I hate to volunteer again. So I mean, somebody else would love this. Anyway, I'm happy to continue to do it. But if you want to have somebody else get involved in doing it, I'm fine with that too.
Tom, you're muted, Tom.
I think Ed did that. I would suggest we had continuity with Commissioner Gormley. And then since
Much continuity.
Since Commissioner Christensen left the meeting, I think she should.
I think that's a fair deal.
Well, let's hear that motion then.
I move that we appoint Commissioners Gormley and Christensen to be the committee that does the initial review working with the general counsel.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in
Can I
favor?
make a friendly amendment to the motion?
Yes.
In light of COVID, could we put it off to 2021 or 22? Oh, okay, no second. It dies for lack of second, sorry.
So we're back to the original motion. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then I'll just remind from a perspective of Sam, when we have that paperwork to diligently get to it and get it back to you as quickly as possible, because that helps the process.
Right, and I can email the forms to you. How you want to get them back to me is kind of individual choice. We'll send them to you probably in a PDF fillable format, but there won't be any secrets sent. So.
So Sam, are you going to be the monitor and take good care of us?
Yes.
I guess it's going to be different. We're not going to be in person this year. So.
No, but if you want the documents delivered, we can do that. And I'll just remind you, you did approve an updated job description, so you'll be seeing a different job description this year.
I'll let the board know, and I said this last year, Sam was just instrumental in making this be a very easy process, and I'm tickled to have him be with our organization and have it so organized. And Mike Keys would give him accolades also.
He's very good at gently reminding.
Yeah.
I think actually Ms. Humley did a great job in updating the forms for us all. So I'll just give her a shout out.
So it is a joint.
Marcy, all right.
Okay, thank you. Let's now move to approval of an agreement with the IBEW Local 125. And so I think we're going to look at either Marcy or Sam to run us through that.
I think we're going to do that after we have our executive session.
Okay, so we'll come back in and address that after our executive session. Okay, so we'll leave that to after executive session. That now takes us to executive session. And so Trina, I will have you bring those into the executive session. We've got 3 items this evening. There's one on security measures, there's one on labor negotiation, and there's one on confidential or privileged records. And I'll read those